Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of 5 Reasons Not to Harm Your Family During Quarantine. We've been doing this every day at 1 o'clock, and I've had so many great questions, and today we are going to continue our educational update, but also we've gotten so many questions about custody that I wanted to make sure that we spent some time on that. As everyone's probably aware, the governor has not made any significant announcements between yesterday and today. It's a good thing, and also creates some uncertainty because there's so many of the executive orders that came out in the last couple of weeks that are vague, and we didn't realize they were vague until they were actually in practice. So I was kind of waiting for one of the people who asked the parenting time question to join in. So I think I will actually start with the education material. Again, as I mentioned yesterday, there is no specific contemplation in the IDEA or in Section 504 of the American Disabilities Act to talk about situations like this where schools are closed for the safety of the public to stop prevention of disease, and in this case, a pandemic. So we have to go by, I'll call it our grassroots belief when we're talking about special ed versus general ed and different services and accommodations available. The most important thing to remember is that the playing field has to be even. If the services are being offered to general ed students, they must be offered to special ed students. And some of the services obviously are costly, the technology, whatever it is. There are funds that have been allowed by the governor and the president through Betsy DeVos. Yes, she did make a good decision that allow some of those federal funds that are given to school districts to be used to purchase devices or any other assistive technology that's needed in a home where there's a child with a disability. That is regardless if it's a 504 or an IEP. That is a mandate that those funds can be shifted to be used in this way to make sure that you have the means to educate all students. A lot of schools have been handing out laptops or iPads or other tablet devices, and this is just a great thing. So that's kind of where we are still with that. I do have for you a bunch of really, sorry about that, a bunch of really cool resources. So give me a second and I'm just going to grab them and then I'll be back and hopefully this whole thing, my little Jimmy rigged recording studio here won't crash and fall over. Hold on one sec. Okay, so we talked about yesterday the different issues that come up when a parent becomes the teacher, and how especially with children, younger children, children with special needs, it's really hard as the parent to teach when your child is jumping on the couch and bouncing off the walls and wants to play this and wants to do that. We had some tips yesterday, but I found today, this is a memorandum from the Michigan Department of Education, and it is called, it's authored March 30th, 2020, and it's called Social Emotional Supports in a Crisis. And it talks about the need for students to be treated in as caring and as systematic or periodic away as possible. And that we need to make sure that our students understand what our teachers are doing. They're not just hanging out at home watching the Hallmark Channel. Teachers are working nonstop, 24 hours a day. They have never had to deal with distance learning before. It's about to become a requirement. So they're gearing up, they're learning. So our kids need to understand that and be patient with that. Again, anything that you're not sure how to do, you, as a parent, you should absolutely positively be communicating with your team, whether that's a gen ed team, or a special ed team, or an IEP team, or a parent group. This is a time for creativity. This is a time to make it happen. This is not a real time for litigation. A lot of cases, I feel like my due process violation cases, some of them get filed because people are just stubborn. And if they would just listen and hear each other and look at the child, then we wouldn't need to be there. But of course, if there is a violation, as I tell everyone, you need to have a notebook. You need to be writing down every conversation with every person on the team or in the administration, all the doctors, psychologists, speech therapists, whoever it is. You need to document everything. You need to be doing confirming emails. If it's a phone conversation, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. That is the number one thing that if you ever have to litigate any of these issues for violations of the American Disabilities Act, IDEA 5, that is going to be the most important, is that it is documented. And as we talked about yesterday, if you don't ask for it, you may not ever get it because no one is out there saying, oh, little Billy needs this. Unfortunately, as I said, they're figuring out how to educate our children. They're not sitting there right now looking at cases one at a time. So I encourage you this is from Michael Rice, PhD, State Superintendent. It was authored on March 30th, 2020, and it has some really good information. And if you go to www.michigan.gov/MD as in David E, Michigan Department of Education, under the COVID-19 tab, you'll see all of the Michigan directives that have come out in the last 2 weeks. Another really great piece that was on there was that there's an article that talks about how every school district has been encouraged to create enrichment education. That's in addition to the normal classroom instruction. It's those websites like Brain Pop and Khan Academy and many, many, many more. And I actually discovered a bunch of new ones since yesterday. See, I do think about this when I'm not talking to you all. For some people, their access to learning is not able to be, plugged in and on the internet. And there are some TV shows on PBS that are, in any public broadcasting station that are enrichment for education. The other thing that I mentioned yesterday, the Council for Exceptional Children has a section on their website that's information for special educators. And so that is a super helpful place to look as well. I'm not going to give you the whole link to get there, but it's really easy to navigate, and that's www.cec.sped.org, and then you'll be directed to where you want to go. There are, in Khan Academy, there's the Zen Desk, which you can pick out where subjects and topics K through 12 that you want to do. The Scholastic Learn at Home is another one. And if you have younger kids, toddlers, preschoolers, up to third grade, there's one called ABC Mouse, which is a step-by-step instruction for learning to read and recognizing sight words, becoming familiar with sight words. And they're all they're all just really amazing things that have been put up there, just in the last week or two for parents who are now teachers to have some guidance and some tools. The last one I want to tell you about is from the American Federation of Teachers, and theirs is called Share My Lesson. And it's actually lessons from individual teachers around the country on different topics or subjects. And it's pre-K to high school, and that's sharemylesson.com. And navigate through that. And it is, hands-on learning, again, very interactive, can be very helpful. There's parenting resources on pbskids.org/grownups. And that is obviously another one. We talked a lot about yesterday how we were going to get our kids to actually look at us as their education source or as their teaching tool. And the way that we have to do that is through routine. And we know that that's how kids, especially kids with any sort of disability or special need, function best in structure and routine. So if the playroom is where they play, then we have to go to the kitchen table to do our schoolwork. Or if that's just where we eat, then we want to go maybe to the dining room table or to the couch or, some other quiet place in your house to figure out where this can be a learning environment. You can use big, giant stick-em notes. They're like poster size. They're huge. We'll be incorporating them into this. Hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have them. And you can do things like, instead, you don't have a chalkboard, you can do them on these big stick-em notes. You can do things using the sun, where you can have the sun shine onto the paper, and you put, an animal figurine there, and you have them chase the shadow. Now they're learning about elephants, and then you can spell the elephant, and then you can color the elephant. And so some of these creative ideas will really, really make this easier for parents to now be the teachers. We still have not had Governor Whitmer's announcement about schools. Well, at least as of a half an hour ago when I ventured to take a shower, we had not had that yet. But a couple other announcements. I guess I'll do this one is quicker. We did have an update a day and a half ago about prisons and jails and the safety of those loved ones. I think that when this came out, it was really misunderstood by the public. There's kind of a view that, well, if they all have it, they should all stay together. But that's not the problem. The problem is that there's people coming in and out of the jails every single day. people who are newly arrested, people who work there, people who deliver supplies there, people who teach, the therapist, the doctor, the COs, the commanding officers, the different sheriff's deputies. I mean, the amount of people that go in and out of a Michigan jail per day is close to 1,000 people, according to an article that I read last night. And so we need to be a little sensitive when people are making blanket statements like, oh, if they're all exposed, then they should all stay together. We are doing emergency bond motions to get people out who are at the end of their sentences. We are doing them for anyone considered non-dangerous who's waiting for trial. We are trying to get sentences reduced on some of our federal clients who have less than a year left of their sentence and have it changed to home confinement or to a halfway house. There have been over 200 inmates released in Wayne County. There have been close to 200 released in Macomb County. No surprise, there's only been about 100 in Oakland County. This is a joint decision that's being made by judges and by the sheriff's department, by the prosecutor, upon a defense request. So we have to have more information to have better facts to present in order for it to be heard and considered essential. And in a minute, when I talk about parenting time, you'll know all about essential and what that really means. So I just wanted to let you all know that is now a directive from the governor, where before we were just doing it to be kind to our clients. Now we actually have some authority due to her executive order. I'm going to go on to parenting time. So if anyone who's watching has any questions, shoot them in now. But basically, as you all know, especially if you've been here since the first day, the Michigan Supreme Court issued an order at the beginning of March saying that regardless of stay at home, regardless of, and those weren't in place yet when this came out, parenting time orders are in place and they must be followed. In the stay-at-home order, there is a provision that accepts driving to achieve parenting time, and that is considered essential and is considered something that you must do, is follow the court order. So now all these situations have arisen. I'll just give you a couple examples of the questions I've been asked in the last couple of days. The first one is, my daughter's dad is living with a woman who has a child, and that child's going back and forth, and my child's going back and forth, and I don't know who everyone's been exposed to. They won't tell me what their quarantine practices are. They're not telling me this. They're not telling me that. I'm afraid that my child is going to be exposed to the virus, and so I'm not going to send them. That is the wrong way to do this. Just as a bit of background, and then I will answer the question. The courts have said that they will hold hearings on issues that are necessary to sustain and protect life. Okay? Not, I suspect it's going to be necessary to sustain or protect life, but it has to be necessary to sustain or protect life. And that is by definition what essential function means. And that is the access to the court that we have, is to show that it's essential, then it can be heard. So a denial of parenting time is absolutely an essential function. So we can file it, but then it's going to be reviewed and it has to rise to the level to where the child has been exposed to someone else who's exposed, or there's a real threat, not a suspected threat, not a, I think there's a threat, not, oh my God, she goes to the grocery every single day. I can't possibly let my child be with that person who goes to the grocery every single day, or I can't possibly let my child be with that person who is a healthcare worker. Well, as hypervigilant parents, sure, we'd love to just keep our children in our little cocoon, but I'm going to the grocery, I'm going to the drugstore, not every day and not even every other day, but there's some essence of reality here and what we're living in and how uncertain it is. So step one, and this is the hardest thing for parents to want to do, but you have to voice your concerns to the other parent. You have to say, I'm really worried about this. What's going on in your house? Don't let your child tell you what's going on in their other parent's house. How often is this other child there? Do you know what the safeguards are in that house? I'm really concerned. I mean, chances are the other parent is really concerned too, and maybe concerned about what's happening in your house. So we have to have these discussions, and you can have them through attorneys, you can have them through Family Wizard, you can have them, just have them. But we have to, the first step before we can go to court at all is we have to try to resolve these issues. And, some of the solutions are, okay, we're going to do 14-day quarantine, you do 14-day quarantine, but then I want makeup parenting time. And especially with state parenting time situations, that is what the solution has to be, because there is almost across the board, judges are not letting children fly. They're saying that the parents can fly to see the kid, but the kid should not fly. And I was just on a webinar with family law practitioners, judges, friend of the court referees from all over the state. And that seemed to be pretty uniform, that to put a kid on a plane is going to be a Herculean task. There are issues that are arising because of spring break. Spring break was my time. We were going on a vacation. Now we can't go on a vacation. I should still have that time. Well, that's when we have to remember that there are children involved. And we have to remember that our children have anxiety that they have never had before. And they may be acting differently, and they may be playing video games like they always do. But there's fear there. There's fear that their parents are going to die. There's fear that they're going to fall behind in school. There's fear that they're not seeing their friends. There's fear that their parents' earning source is going to disappear or diminish. And there's just fear of uncertainty. So certainly starting a fight, a legal one, or an attempt to talk civilly about a conflict in parenting time or concerns with parenting, you got to know what your child is feeling. You got to check in with them. And that's really the only way that you'll come to a solution, is to, know what your child's real fears are. And that doesn't mean rush to your lawyer and say, she's scared of this, she's scared of this, she's scared of this, we got to change it. No, it's okay, you're scared. What can we do without going to court? Because although we can file it, it doesn't mean it's going to be heard. Everything is reviewed. And so sometimes, we should probably think about spending that money on groceries rather than lawyers. And, I've done it for the last couple days, and will continue to talk to people about how to have those conversations about time with your ex-spouse or baby mama, baby daddy, or whoever is co-parenting with you. They're really, really important. The other thing is the friend of the court is available. They are almost all, up and online. And there is an email address. Let me see if I can find it. In Oakland County, where you can send your questions. Hold on. Okay, so I fibbed a little. It is not on the front of the court page. Go to the state court administrator's office, SCAO .org, I believe, but if it's not, it's .gov. They have a whole section on parenting time and child support. And again, I can certainly help you find whatever you need and direct you to try to settle things out of court with your co-parent. There's also on that page is a complete friend of the court FAQ. So question and answers, frequently asked questions and answers, which is super helpful. The another thing that is happening is with child. As soon as the quarantine and all of this is over, the court is going to entertain motions to retroactively modify non-modifiable child support. So that means that if in your judgment of divorce, there is a non-modifiable support amount, which we then know that those are never final when it comes to support, then ordinarily you would file the motion and your relief would start on the day of the motion going forward. The Supreme Court is allowing that to be filed at any time, and it will be retroactive to the date that you were suspended from work with a maximum of 60 days. So that could be really helpful to people. I was also asked about domestic violence and PPOs and what's happening with that. Well, the PPOs, at least in Oakland County, you can email ppo@oakgov.com and file your paperwork there. You can find all the forms on the oakgov.com website. Just search PPO and they will come up with instructions. Or you can call me and I can help you. If there is domestic violence in a pending divorce case, the parties are in the same home. Some judges are allowing us to bring in the parties early by Zoom, not in person, to put the proofs, do the pro on so they can be divorced early for their own personal safety and waive the 6 months. The friend of the court email that I was talking about earlier is, this is in Oakland County, and it's clerklegal@oakgov.com. And so those are places that you can ask questions. Of course, you can ask me. So our phone number again is 248-792-3060. And you can email me at lisa@kdlawgroup.com anytime. And there's always, I try to keep posting the updates from the governor on our Facebook page and making sure that everyone has access to information and to have their questions answered. That is about it for updates for today. Does anyone have any questions? I'm scrolling through now. One of these days, some of you is going to have to ask more than one question. But I did get a lot between yesterday and today. So anyway, I think that that's it for today. And if you can share this video with your friends, we would appreciate it. And we're here if you need us. As I end every session, remember, the biggest reason not to harm your loved ones during quarantine is because few people look good in horizontal orange stripes. And with that, stay healthy, find some happy, and stay home. And we'll see you tomorrow, 1:00. Bye.